In this video, we are going to collect user stories for our product backlog. We identified our product backbone, collected high-level user goals from our user perspective, and we break that down into actionable user journey steps. With our backbone in place, it's time to drill down. We need to capture every distinct action Sarah might take for every single activity in the user journey. Before we start collecting user stories, let's take a quick look at what to pay attention to when collecting user stories for an MVP. First, we need to capture user stories in the right format. Focus on the action and value. Stick to the standard user story format. As a user role or certain persona, I want to perform some action in order to achieve value or benefit, eventually the outcome. The format ensures every story is focused on a user action and delivers clear value. If you can't articulate the value for your user, that story probably doesn't belong in your MVP. Second, capture all paths. It's including also the good and bad. Don't just collect user stories for the ideal scenario. Pay attention to all the different ways a user might achieve a goal or what happens when things go wrong. For example, under the pay activity, you need the happy path. I want to pay with a new card. But you also need the exceptions. I want to receive an error message if my card is declined. Collecting these alternative and error handling stories ensures your MVP is not only functional, but also resilient. Third, the size of the story matters. Keep stories small and testable. A story is an invitation to a conversation and not a novel. For the MVP, stories must be small enough to be fully developed and tested within a short period of time, ideally in a single sprint. Instead of a large story, like I want to manage my account, break it into small testable chunks, like I want to change my password. As a user, I want to change my password so I can keep my account secure. And you can also identify the second story. I want to update my billing address. As a user, I want to update my billing address so I can provide the right information. This granular detail gives your engineering team precision and allows you to track progress accurately against your MVP goals. Now comes the interesting part. Let's collect user stories for every single step in the user journey. Our first user goal to register on the application. To do so, we first need to download the application. We can collect user stories manually, or we can also ask StoriesOnBoard AI assistant to help us. Brainstorming these stories, it will be relevant for us to access the App Store, search for the application, install it, and open the Parkley application. Creating a new account, it would require our user to enter personal details, choose a username, set a secure password, and agree the terms and conditions. Verifying the email is the next step in the user journey. We can receive the verification, click on the link, access the application, and get notification on successful verification. Now let's focus on the sign-in process. Our user first needs to enter email address and password. We can collect user stories that is relevant for this step. We need to input the email address, input our password. We can consider the Remember Me option, view password visibility toggle, and of course, receive error message if it's invalid the credentials. This is exactly what we discussed earlier. We need to focus and make our MVP resilient. We can add this to our backlog. Even though we included the use biometric authentication for this step in the user journey, we can ignore this for now since this is not completely relevant for our MVP at this point. Let's focus for now on the reset forgotten password. Collecting user stories for this part is also going to be relevant and important for our user. And now let's focus on the core of our user journey. This is going to be the heart of our solution. The success of our application is to grant our user to find the right parking zone. To do that, our user must use the GPS to locate the zone. This step in the user journey, we can add user stories like auto-detect current location via the GPS. When the GPS is unavailable, we need to enter our address manually to the system. For our user to display the GPS accuracy, would be also very important. And we must not forget about to enable the location permission by a single tap. And just like any other application, we must enable for our user to switch between the map view and the list view. We also know that Sarah keeps coming back to certain locations, so it would be also good for her if she could save the frequent locations for quick access next time. Sarah must view nearby parking options. We can add user stories like show nearby zones on interactive map, for example, or filter zones by availability. And to find the best options, Sarah should be able to sort the zones per distance, price, or even rating. And when it's available, it should be displayed the real-time spot count per zones. And to consume the information quickly as possible, we can also show a compact list for Sarah. According to the availability of these spots, we could even color code and display the result. We can keep going and collecting user stories for every single step in our user journey to make sure that we map out all the possibilities that our user require to accomplish her goal. Now that we collected all the possible ways our user can accomplish her goal, we gained a great overview from start to end how our user will interact with the solution that we build. In the next video, we are going to identify those critical user stories that we should develop first to slice our MVP release